Hi, I'm Rob King. Welcome to Homebrew number 42. This is a Halloween themed pumpkin ale. There's lots to see in this episode. We're returning to the Digimash and Digiboil for the largest homebrew I've ever done. We're looking at a 17-litre fermentation. That's a big one for me. There was a certain amount of preparation too, as we prepared some fresh pumpkin for this one. Lots of fun and games with that. And finally, this is the first time I've used a liquid yeast. I finally got a sufficient volume to make it feasible to do so. So we'll see how that all goes. What could possibly go wrong? Cheers everyone, check it out. This is the Homebrew Masterplan with 16 homebrews aligned to special events throughout the year. You may have noticed some scope creep going on here. The plan started the year at 14. Oops. To make things worse, the winter warmer seems to have stalled. Firework night is in trouble. And why is Christmas so soon? I haven't even started the Christmas spiced cider. Oh gosh, I think I need a drink. Last time the Oktoberfest Marzen delivered on a smooth dark lager. This month I set out on the biggest, most complex homebrew I've ever attempted. Will it be wicked or will it be a Halloween horror? Only one way to know is to check it out. This recipe requires a fresh pumpkin, which we will prepare a few days in advance. My choice is a Crown Prince, providing plenty of flavour for cooking and eating. I'm only going to use about half of this 5 kilogram pumpkin, removing the seeds, cutting into large pieces, placing on a baking tray and sprinkling liberally with brown sugar. Ovens may vary, so keep watch. I found that roasting for 90 minutes at 190 degrees C resulted in soft pieces of pumpkin, during which time the sugar also melts and caramelizes. After they've cooled, the skins peel off easily. Put them in the fridge until we're ready for brew day. Check out the links for bakes, pies, soups and generally other fun with leftover pumpkin. Our main piece of equipment, of course, is the Digiboil alongside the new grain basket for mashing. We also have a hop spider and a large paddle as we mash in. We're getting out the pump this time to help with circulation and temperature control. This is also a 19-litre batch, so a large fermenter is going to be needed. We're going to install a replacement O-ring on the lid during this brew. Of course, the chiller for cooling. And lots of other stuff, including the hydrometer, refractometer, thermometer, measuring cylinder, pipette, wine thief, brew bag, clips, pH meter and jeweler scales, and not forgetting a normal kitchen scales. Sanitizer too, of course, and finally when we get to the end we'll pull out the professional brewery wash for the clean. Moving on to ingredients, this is going to be an epic list too, starting off with 28 litres of bottled water. The grain bill adds up to 5.8 kilograms, including Marisotta, light Munich malt, aromatic malt and Cara Munich. Hops are 25 grams of Northern Brewer. Adjuncts are brown sugar, cinnamon powder, ground ginger, nutmeg, vanilla essence, and we're going to have to grind that nutmeg ourselves as part of this recipe. Water chemistry, we will prepare a balanced profile. Yeast nutrient, of course, a Whirlfloc tablet for improved clarity. Lactic acid is at the ready but not used this occasion. The food grade grease, not an ingredient. We will make sure we can get the lid off the fermenter once fermentation is done. Yeast is the WLP002, an English ale yeast and my first liquid yeast. We'll see how this all goes. Finally, the coup de grace, our roast pumpkin has been waiting patiently in the fridge for today. This is going to be a big brew day, so I decided to get a few things ready the night before, starting with pouring 28 litres of water into the brew kettle. Also preparing the water chemistry, which is 0.24 grams of baking soda, 2.5 grams of calcium chloride, 0.36 grams of canning salt, 0.12 grams of chalk, 1.78 grams of Epsom salt and 1.9 grams of gypsum. I have a new O-ring for the fermenter lid, so first of all I'm going to use the food grade grease to give it good coverage. This will help with the seal but also help to make it last a little longer. Furthermore, I can also grease the threads on the lid to help get the lid off once fermentation is done.
Sanitizer in here.
After a comedy moment of checking the lid without the new seal, hence it didn't work that well, I actually installed the correct lid and things worked perfectly. So we now have a sanitized fermenter ready for tomorrow. Finally, setting out all the equipment I'm going to need, I went to bed. As an example of British weather, today I am brewing the Halloween Pumpkin Ale. What a lovely day.
A little help from an Alexa plug means that it's been warming up before I was even here. Water chemistry was prepared yesterday. These can go in now.
Give it a gentle mix to make sure all of those chemicals dissolve well.
At the top of the scale, it's about right. I did take 2 litres out. I was thinking this is looking a bit full. 28 litres. Lesson learned from previously, I've connected up the pump ready to use later on to try and help circulation.
We have reached strike temperature.
I'm going to reduce the power and I'm going to bring this down to 68. And we'll mash in.
We'll add the grain basket. And then mash in, first of all, 2.6 kilograms of Maris Otter, (1.2 kilograms of light Munich malt,
Example of clumping, look at that.
800 grams of aromatic malt, and 350 grams of Cara Munich, and give it a good stir.
Okay, first lesson learned, this is too full. Next batch size has to be a bit smaller.
15 minutes into the mash and we'll take a sample to check the pH.
Distilled water is just used for the pH meter to clean the lens.
The sample has to come down to room temperature before we can take a reading, and we've come in at 5.43, which is perfectly within the acceptable range of 5.2 to 5.6, so no additions are going to be needed. We are due to add 1.9 kilograms of pumpkin.
Because it was 2.5 kilograms raw pumpkin and just over 1 kilogram, 1054 grams roasted.
We are also going to need 190 grams of soft dark sugar.
190!
15 minutes before the end of the mash, I decided to give the refractometer a try, and we came in at 1.038. Now the target is 1.046, so we feel a little light. However, I do think Brewfather counted the sugar which goes in at the boil in the fermentables, so we are slightly off target, but not too far.
We are coming to the end of the mash. I've adopted the gloves because I've got to find the holes for the handle which are submerged given how high this is. Oh, this is heavy. Don't think I get quite the right height yet.
This is draining quite slowly, and I'm guessing this is why rice hulls can help to make it drain more quickly.
Power on.
Meanwhile, it's time to bring it all up to the boil and try and break up some of those grains to help the wort drain through. This is our pre-boil sample, which we're going to have to cool to room temperature before we can take a reading.
Colour is looking good. We're sort of hoping for a reddish hue in the finished beer. Just getting ready for some circulation plans later on. Bringing up to the boil. It's showing 81 degrees at the moment.
This is going to be a 90-minute boil. Our first addition then at 90 minutes is 190 grams of dark brown sugar. Also at 90 minutes, it's time to add the pumpkin. The pre-boil sample is down to room temperature, and so we can take a reading, and it's come in at 1.046 versus a target of 1.046, spot on. Interestingly, the hydrometer came in just 1 gravity point different at 1.045.
I must comment on that lovely golden colour. This time we seem to be a bit more accurate. It actually cut out just as I was coming to the boil, so I actually had to increase the target to 101, but it's held here nicely at 100. I should have pulled this back a bit, shouldn't I? Wow, pulling the power back a bit has just settled it down a little bit. I should have done that from the very start. My mistake.
Our only hop addition at 60 minutes is 25 grams of Northern Brewer, giving us 19 IBUs.
This is a bit of an experiment, so I'm going to switch down to the 500 watt heater. That one first. Now down. Just to see what impact it has on the boil. Wow, you can see that quiet down quite a lot quickly. Okay, I'll just watch that, give that 5 minutes to see what happens. I might actually leave it on the 500 if we feel the boil is sufficient. That has reduced to just a very little amount. Not sure which is best. I am going to turn it back up because the boil off rate I think is going to be wrong if I leave it on this, but it is a gentle boil. 1900 on 500 off. This is on 1900 watts. 10 minutes to go. It's time to figure out how I squeeze cooling in as well.
Adding the chiller at this stage ensures that it is sterilised before we need to use it.
I couldn't lay my hands on any ground and nutmeg, but I already had some, so I'm going to try to grind it down myself with my NutriBullet. to go.
11 grams of cinnamon powder. 2.5 grams of ground ginger. .5 grams of nutmeg. And finally 10 grams of yeast nutrient. Not forgetting a Whirlfloc tablet for clarity. We have reached the end of the boil, so the heat can come off. We'll leave it switched on so we can monitor the temperature. We are also going to use the pump to help circulation and hopefully help cooling. First step though is to connect everything up. Bottom, it's out. Cooling started, so we'll also do some circulation. Hopefully by running it through the hop spider, that will also filter out any of those grains that escaped. This method does seem to be a bit more successful than last time. Woohoo! Thank you to Jason for my new fermenter. This has been sanitising. Just give it a last shake. I still have a leaky bit. Fortunately, small though it may be, the chiller is fully submerged. I'm going to take the pumpkin out. Now this bowl has been sanitised, so any juice that comes out we can keep and add back in. Same idea for the hop spider. I'm running the circulation now over the top of the cooler, see if that will help a bit. The difference in temperature top to bottom is now only 1 degree with the pump. We are down to 25, so cooling can come out and we can start transfer. Not a perfect whirlpool, but a bit of a whirlpool. It's time for cleanup, but meanwhile, with the pumpkin, I can come back and make some pumpkin pie with this. For the first time ever, the refractometer and the hydrometer have both come in with the same original gravity reading at 1.060, which is great news. Unfortunately, the target was 1.063, so we've come in just below target, some of which can be attributed to the fact that we're still fine-tuning some of those Brewfather settings. Left to settle for 15 minutes, it really has cleared up. Now it's time to transfer to the fermenter. This is the biggest transfer I've ever done. It's around 17 litres in the fermenter. So this is the first time I've used a liquid yeast. Step 1, homogenise well. cleanup definitely looked like it was going to be a challenge this time, especially with all those overflows, but the professional brewery wash really did the trick, and in fact it cleaned up better this time than last time. Hey, hopefully we've seen the end of the saga of the leaky chiller as I've replaced the connection. Well, there we have it, brew day is over, the fermenter has been moved to the garage where it's a little cooler. Fermentation day 0. We are just a few hours later, positive pressure in the airlock already. This is unexpected, it's all gone quiet. Do you reckon that's settling out at the bottom? Just give it a bit of a rock to see if that would help. Pressure. It's quiet, just an occasional bubble. So this is day 5 and we are slowing right down. There is still some slow occasional activity. Day 7, see you in a couple of weeks after the holidays. It's been 3 weeks, it's time for a move. Well, for the pumpkin ale, we're going to need a bigger siphon. Hugh, a bigger siphon. That should do it. You do get quite a nice pumpkin aroma, and it's wonderfully dark. It's time to transfer off the trub and to add the vanilla essence and priming sugar for bottling. I've definitely poured some sediment through. I've pushed it a bit lower than I should. That looks lovely and clear. I'm honestly tempted to stop to dump the sediment. Sanitised spoon. I'm also mixing in 2.5 teaspoons of vanilla essence. 1, 2. That's running less clear, so I'm stopping there. We'll take a sample for our final gravity reading. That looks and smells fantastic. For bottle carbonation, we're going to use 61 grams of sugar, which is 4.7 grams per litre. Adding boiling water to the 61 grams also sterilises the sugar. Right. This can cool down, ready for addition. Oh wow, that aroma. This too has been sanitised. Gently mixing it in. Well, it's looking a lovely rich amber colour and the aroma is already pretty good. How are we doing for gravity? Our final gravity then has come out at 1.018 versus a target of 1.018. Woohoo! Definitely has that roast pumpkin aroma to it. Toasty. Right. Let's see how it's doing. I know it's flat, but that already has a very strong pumpkin taste, and I think we managed to avoid as much of the sediment as we could. I think that's going to pour out very well. That's pretty solid. Plenty of cleaning there.
Nice job there.
We are finally ready then to get on with the bottling, but the first step of course is to thoroughly clean all of the bottles and sanitize them. Bottling itself is really straightforward. From the bottling bucket, I'm just going to attach the bottling wand and away we go.
Number 1. Time to switch to time lapse.
I am using 4 1 litre bottles here, which I'm going to use as gifts, and the remainder is going into 500ml bottles, 18 in total. Capping of course, which I find straightforward with this worktop capper, but of course a handheld capper works just as well. And so we come to the end of a very successful bottling day with 22 bottles of beer in the bag. It just now remains to clean up the final few items, enjoy a quick drink, and of course put these away for conditioning.
Well, cheers everyone, happy Halloween. We're going to give this a try. It had a lovely frothy head. It's taken me a few minutes to sort everything out with the camera, so that has declined a little bit, but still lovely tan head. Colour, absolutely beautiful. It is a red ale hue to it. Loving that lots. And aroma. Gosh, oh my goodness. It is a very complex aroma. I can't quite decipher it all. Let's start with pumpkin, really obvious. That's coming through very nicely. But it is the combination of cinnamon, ginger, vanilla. This is incredibly enticing. Gosh, oh wow. Cheers everyone, let's give it a try. I think this is more of a Christmas ale than it is a pumpkin Halloween ale. A lot of the same principles apply. A lot of the tastes are coming through. It is incredibly dry actually, which is surprising. I think I was expecting there to be more of a risk of it being, too sweet or cloying. Not at all. That dry bitterness coming through, but it's not overpowering. It's just there. It smells like you've gone to the fun fair with all of the aromas around. It's just absolutely incredible. Right, let's take a bigger swig. I'm really pleased to say this has come out very nice indeed. It's a very strange ale though. It's hard to put your finger on exactly some of those flavours all coming through. It is very dry. There is a little bit of bitterness on the back end more, but actually you get the pumpkin and the cinnamon and all of those spices on the front. The carbonation is very good indeed. It's come through, even though it's a bit lighter in this brew than some of the others that I've done, it's definitely there. And also it gives it a nice fuller mouthfeel, I think. Although the mouthfeel itself is more of a medium light. Now I've been sipping a few times, it really is quite quaffable. It really has just settled down. If you just spin it around a bit actually, you can see the bubbles coming through, hopefully there. Well, trick or treat, it was definitely a treat. Good health, happy home brewing, have a happy Halloween.
That's 12 down and 4 to go, but it's all become a big challenge for the final 4. The pear cider is awesome, but an unexpected addition to the plan, and meanwhile the Firework Night Winter Warmer kit has stalled. I thought this was supposed to be an easy choice, and it has proved to be anything but. Keep your eyes peeled also for the outtakes and retrospective episodes where we'll look at the costs, the price per pint, the fermentation schedule and those all important lessons learned. Well, cheers everyone, happy Halloween, do like, subscribe and feel free to comment. Cheers!